Hey everyone, welcome back to Caesar's Freedomstead. Today I'm going to show you how to grow tomatoes from seed the best way that we have found over these years. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, first thing that you want to do to get started is you want to go ahead and plant your seed, obviously. What we like to do every year, and what I think is the best way to plant seeds in general, is using these egg cartons. So whether you have chickens at home or you go and buy eggs at the store, we buy a lot of eggs at the store now that we don't have chickens anymore. So we save these, and we have 18 areas to plant. So we'll put typically one type of seed in each one of these, and so you're growing 18 of them. So you get a bunch of them, and they'll stay in here until they're about 2 inches tall, and then you can take them out. So right here, as you can see, I have 2 tomatoes here that I need to go ahead and transplant. But these ones right here are going to be going into pots. And, whether you like to do it in pots or a raised bed, we do them both. I'm going to show you the tomatoes in the raised bed, which you seen in the beginning of the video. These are going to go into pots. And, we'll put them around the garden somewhere. But we like to do them both. So right here, when they get to about 2 inches tall, you are ready to take them out and transplant. But let me go ahead and show you how you're going to be planting here. And so what you want to do is you want to first take your seed. Doesn't matter what kind of tomato you want to do. Just go ahead and open up a tiny little hole, just like so, about 2 millimeters deep. Drop it in there and just barely cover it over. You want it to be near the surface so that it can, in a way, sense the conditions that are going on around it, because seeds will actually sprout when they feel the right conditions that they're in. So, and go ahead and give it a little bit of water. What we like to use is a little tiny bottle like this, a little tiny spray bottle. And we'll just go ahead and use this. And there are seeds in here right now. So I'm going to go ahead and just water it. And so this is how we water it. It's very, very light. So you're not dousing your seeds and disturbing the roots. You don't want to do that if it's starting to create some roots down there. So this is just a light drizzle onto your plants here. And so that's what we do. We do that every day right out here. This is our whole setup out here. So you want to have a nice seed setup near the sun. Now you can have it out here. This is our patio. It's protected from the elements and from any frost or anything that might happen at night. But you can also do it inside. Just go ahead and put your seeds near a window where there's sunlight. Fun fact, I think I told you guys this in the past, but the very first time we ever started growing something, my wife Marina put some tomato seeds in a container next to the window inside the house, and it grew like 6 inches tall. And they were like, oh, wow, what's going on? So we went ahead and planted it in the pot. All right. Underneath our table here, as you saw before, this is our gardening table, basically. We like to keep some of our dirt. What I want everyone to incorporate when you're planting even your seeds is when you're putting together your egg cartons and getting your dirt together and everything, get your dirt of choice, which there's a million of them out there. So whichever one you like, make sure it has a little bit of fertilizer in there. If not, get some of that those liquid fertilizers. You can do it yourself. And mix in that dirt with some really good peat moss. So peat moss mixed in with your dirt makes an amazing mix for tomatoes. We do the mix for a lot of different things that we plant. But we have seen over these years that mixing peat moss with your dirt when you're planting in a container or in a raised bed, whichever, tomatoes love it. They are the one plant that loves having that peat moss mixed in. So do that. Get a little container. This is what we do here on the table. We'll get a container like this. My wife Marina likes to do this. She'll put some of the store-bought topsoil or gardening soil, and she'll take some peat moss and she'll mix it in. Not really a 50-50. It'll be more dirt than peat moss. So I'd say more of like a 70-30. 70% dirt, about 30% peat moss in there. So go ahead and mix it in there and then spread it inside of your egg cartons or whichever you like to plant in. But I'm trying to show you the best way here, and it's those egg cartons, because they'll get about 2 inches tall. They're ready to go, and they survive, and it's amazing. We do also use the soil blocks. We'll save that for another video. Those are great as well, but we only you do that for certain things. So go ahead and do that. Got a little bit off topic there. Do that, mixing your peat moss with your dirt. Now let's go ahead and go out to the raised garden, the raised bed garden, and I'm going to show you the end product here and what I did over there to make those tomatoes get really big. So all the tomatoes I'm about to show you started right out here inside of these egg cartons, and we've transplanted them out there into little tiny containers, and then when they got about, I'd say about 6 to 8 inches tall, we put them in the raised bed. So let's go out there. I'm going to teach you some tips and tricks on how to make your tomato plants really big and produce a lot of tomatoes. So we're out here in the raised garden bed. Now, if you guys saw my last video, I kind of showed you a little bit of everything out here, the Swiss chard and the kale and everything like that. But today we're going to focus on the tomatoes. So these tomatoes are rather large, and this is actually down about a foot into the raised bed right here. So these are about a foot taller than they actually look. They're pretty large. But as you can see, they are riddled with tomatoes. These are about medium-sized tomatoes in here. We have about 3 different varieties. We have a variety over here, variety and variety. And we just like to keep things a little interesting. So I have a couple different varieties of tomatoes. But as you can see, every single one of these tomato plants here are riddled with tomatoes everywhere. See all the way back there? There's a whole bundle back there. Over here, down here. Okay, everything's blocking it there. Ton over there. And if you can see over on this side, I'll go over there and show you in a second, but you probably saw it in the beginning of the video. But they're producing like crazy out here. Now, I'm going to kind of reiterate some of the things from my last video because it's what's worked for the tomatoes. Now, inside of your garden bed, these tomatoes, they love the dirt, they love the peat moss, and they also love the 1 foot of compost material that we have on the bottom layer of this raised bed here. So table scraps, grass clippings, pretty much anything that is going to be broken down material, stick in there. And it is presently breaking down underneath right now, so everything in here is feeding off of all that material right now. Every time I water it and everything breaking down there by all the worms and other bugs. And so these things are loving it. As you can see, the leaves are healthy and green. There's no sickness. I clip the leaves pretty often. You don't want to have a whole lot of leaves and branches. A whole lot of leaves on your tomato plant because it's going to start taking that energy away from your tomatoes. So you want to have more tomatoes and less leaves. So this isn't a teaching you how to clip a tomato video. I could make that if you guys like that. If you want me to make that, go ahead and leave it in the comments. I'll definitely do that. But you want to go ahead and keep it trimmed pretty often. And so that's what I've done. You can see there's pretty open areas down here. Up here, it's getting a little bushy. We got to go ahead and do another clipping. But you want to do that because it's going to concentrate more of its energy into those tomatoes. Another thing to do to get large tomato plants and large tomatoes is the whole structure of a plant is its root system. So the more roots it can have, the stronger roots, the better. So if you can see these little hair-like projections all along here, it's mostly up here, but they're on every tomato plant. Those want to become roots. So what I like to do is I'm just going to grab some from here just to kind of show you, but you want to get some new dirt. You want to go ahead and cover up those areas. And what you're going to do, this is just for teaching purposes here. What you want to do is do that for all your tomato plants where you see those little projections, the little hairs, and it'll actually create more roots from those little projections when you cover them with the dirt, further strengthening your tomato plants and, you know, giving it more surface area below the dirt here. I know it sounds kind of weird, to project out and get more nutrients and actually become more stabilized. So that's a really good way of kind of like a little trick to help them grow even deeper to where they're at. All right, now this guy right here, this is one of my new tomato plants here. I'm growing him directly in the unfinished compost area. So you see over there, like I showed you in another video, that's all finished compost about a foot below, and it's covered with topsoil. This one I'm doing directly in. So I'll keep you guys up to date on this one. I'm going to add a little bit of dirt to here, but as you can see, I'm still filling up this side with compost. And he has actually grown quite a bit in the past 3 days. So he's growing a lot. And I'll keep you updated on that. Don't worry about these guys over here. These are potatoes. I'll show you guys a potato video soon, because potatoes are exploding and booming over here. Booming in the potato business, but that's a different video. Okay, like I promised, here is the third tomato plant here, exploding with growth of tomatoes everywhere. Now, furthermore, as you can see, all these are growing in complete sunlight. So when you put your seeds inside of the egg containers, egg cartons, you grow them about 2 inches tall. Keep them in the sun, either in your patio or in the window. If it's cold where you're at right now, stick them in the window. They're going to be perfectly fine. By the time spring comes, you could start putting them in the pots, putting them outside. But once they get about 2 inches tall, you're going to put into a little pot or container. Still mix that 70-30 or so, whichever kind of mix you want to do, of the dirt and peat moss. You know, stick them right there in your raised bed. Every single one of these tomatoes was really tiny when it came out of that egg carton, and then they were about this big when we got them out of the pots and stuck them in here. So they're all doing amazing. Full sunlight. Tomatoes are one of those you want to do full sunlight. Try not to keep them in the shade too much if you're in that kind of area. I have videos where I teach you how to grow things in the shade. Tomatoes, they'll do okay with a little bit of sunlight. You could still grow them, but tomatoes are going to love that sunlight and lots of water. You want to give them a lot of water, especially if in a raised bed or in a container. You got to water it every day. All right, well, that'll about do it for tomatoes here. Growing tomatoes from seed. You know, go ahead and just get your stuff started in some egg cartons or, you know, whatever you like to use. That's just what we like to use. We think it's the best way of doing it. It's kind of organized, you know. There's 18 slots, and that's about how much we want to plant of each thing. And then you could distribute out in your garden. So thank you so much for watching. I hope I earned your subscription. I hope you got something from this video here. I'm going to keep you guys up to date on the tomatoes. Probably within the next 3 weeks or so, these tomatoes are going to start turning red. So I'll bring you guys back out here and we'll cut some open. They smell good and they taste so amazing. Completely different than what you buy in the store. Let me tell you that. Well, thank you so much. Subscribe, like, and we'll see you next time.